something to
Hi
discuss.
there, and welcome to MiWeek. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm Christy McDonald. After months of planning, work, and negotiations, it seems like talk for a viable regional transit plan for the 18 ballot have come to a screeching halt. Oakland County Executive Brooks Patterson took a shot at the plans in his State of the County address last week, saying a renewed plan would cost too much without the benefits. Now, I spoke with Wayne County Executive Warren Evans, who was spearheading the talks among the leadership, and he gives us some insight into what's happening. But first, let's bring in our MiWeek contributors, Nolan Finley of the Detroit News and Stephen Henderson of WDET Public Radio. Hi, gentlemen. It's always good to see you. You know, I think we kind of got the openings that all was not right in the regional transit world back when the leadership of the counties and also Mayor Mike Duggan sat down at Cobo and had their annual kind of talk, and we started to see that there is a little bit of trouble here, and so transit has been on the brain, and so I said, well, I'd love to sit down with Warren Evans sometime, and it was just at the end of last week we sat down when everything started to blow up. What do you make of what Brooks Patterson has said, Nolan, and how it's kind of thrown things into a, well, this might be it for 18. We may not see anything that involves Oakland County.
Yeah, well, join Macomb County on that too. I mean, Macomb County defeated this thing 60-40 last time, I think, and I don't know that it's gotten any more popular. And I think both Mark Hagel and Brooks Patterson are asking important questions about what their residents are going to get for their tax dollars. I don't think the RTA has made its case to the regional leaders or to the voting public. I mean, it looks like sort of a warmed over plan, not a plan that fully integrates a system that would be useful to everybody in the area.
They've been working on this since last April, Stephen, so
No,
you're at
they've
a
been
certain
working on
point.
this since 1970.
Okay, right, that's true. That's true. If you want to go back, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's the tragedy here, I think, is that you have suburban leaders intoning this selfish approach to the idea of transit, right? I mean, there are legitimate questions to be asked about the RTA and what it wants to do, how it will be funded, how the services will come together. But the dynamic that these two are introducing into the conversation is everyone ought to be going into that booth thinking, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? What's in it for me? And that's not the way transit works anywhere else in this country, and that's why we don't have transit and other people do.
All right, let's go ahead and take a listen to what Warren Evans has to say about where things stand right now, and we will pick up afterwards. Go ahead and take a look. Where are you right now?
You know, if you'd asked me 2 weeks ago, I said, you know, we're looking really pretty good. Right now, I'm not so sure. One of the issues all along has been the issue of what should the taxing jurisdiction look like. And I thought we were at the point where we'd kind of draw a horizontal line through counties like Oakland and Macomb, and those north of a certain point on the line and who didn't feel a need for the service wasn't going to be for them, wouldn't be paying for it. And you know, those who felt the need for it south would be a part of that taxing jurisdiction. Obviously some would and some wouldn't. But it was an opportunity to make some sense out of it in terms of a regional approach. That kind of fell apart, and because there were some communities that wanted to opt out. And while I understand the need to opt out, by definition a regional plan serves a region, not without donut holes.
So you're looking for a specific buy-in from Brooks Patterson in Oakland County and Mark Hagel in Macomb County, and saying not only are we going to see this is happening, but say we're supporting this and we encourage the people who live in our counties to vote for it.
Correct.
That's what you're looking for.
That's what we're looking for, and I'm not extremely optimistic that we can get there.
Why not?
Because I think, you know, both Brooks and Mark have indicated they have some real concerns about their constituents being more interested in other things like infrastructure repair and other things than the transit. And they are going to go where they think their populace wants them to go. It's not an argument. You know, we all get along well, work with each other as best we can. I take a differing approach. I think we need regional transit. You know, I think we've got to be prepared to pay the price for it, and I think we will get a yield far in advance or far more significant than just the tax payment that we wind up making. But if that can't happen, then we need to look at who wants to be in and who doesn't want to be in. If Washtenaw is interested, and they are, and if Wayne's interested, and I am, and Detroit's interested, then there may be a plan that we can create that connects Ann Arbor and Detroit and connects to Metro Airport as a starting point. I mean, if we're successful doing that, successful being able to pay for it, because there's a tax base issue there, but you know, then people can also opt. There's a concept of opting in too. If people don't see it, if they're from Missouri, you got to show me, and government has the ability to show them something viable. It's amazing how quickly people will join something that they can see some tangible positive result as opposed to just talking about it. And we've been talking about this since the 70s.
You have been working on this since April.
Yeah.
With the staffs of all of the other county executives and Mike Duggan. Is there a feeling that if you can't do it this year, if you can't do it in 18, then when can you do it, or can it ever be done in this region?
These are really tough questions. I mean, I think my sense is those who say let's hold it off till 2020 are really saying let's just hold it off. I don't think 2020 is necessarily going to be any better time to deal with this than 2018. I mean, I think it's part of it's definitional. What I hear Brooks saying is, I'm for regional transit, but parts of the region aren't going to be a part of it. I mean, it's, to me, that's counter to what regional is and connecting people. It's hard to connect somebody around the city and, you know, in that sort of way. And I'm not knocking his position. If that's what he believes, then maybe definitionally we're going about this the wrong way. If it's either going to be a regional system or it's not. If it's not going to be a regional system, then what do you want to do, or what do we collectively want to do, if anything?
So are you at that point right now with those conversations?
Yeah, we're at the point of trying to figure out if there's some way this thing can work and we can do it without the firefight that will come from some communities that are very, very against the plan. I have yet to figure out how to do that, but there are certainly people smarter than I am, and we're all, you know, sitting down working through it. So kind of remains to be seen. As I said, I'm generally an optimistic person to begin with, but you know, I'm not going to bet the family farm on it.
Really interesting. I'm not going to bet the family farm on it, but he said, you know, is there some way that this thing can work? Nolan, do you get a system that only then has Washtenaw, Wayne County?
You might, and I think that I talked to one of the business leaders yesterday who will be funding any proposal if it gets on the ballot, and they're talking about starting, as Warren Evans did, with a scaled back system, a smaller system, to see if it can work. There's a fundamental problem with this whole idea, and that is it layers on yet another bus system onto two other existing bus systems that haven't worked all that well over the years. I felt from the beginning we ought to put these systems together and pitch them as one. I'll push back a little bit on something Steve said before we went to the interview, that these suburban leaders just fundamentally don't support transit or regional transit. They've always supported SMART. They supported a doubling of the SMART millage 2 years ago, even though most of their citizens don't use the buses. There will be a SMART millage on the August ballot that they will support. We have a regional transit system that doesn't work very well, and the answer is we're going to create another one. This one will work. Give us another millage. We need to combine these systems. One tax, one system.
Yeah.
I know, but you talked about the combination of the systems. I know,
but there's no way
then
to do
so
that.
where is that conversation then? Where's the
very complicated.
Where is the conversation about combining the systems?
Well,
because you've talked about this for the last 2 years.
Yeah, we've been talking about that for 25 years. Is the idea that SMART and DDOT shouldn't exist independently as they do now. And I agree that the RTA is layering another system on top of it. I disagree that it won't work. I think the approach of the RTA is fundamentally different from SMART and DDOT, and will serve far more people in a more rational way.
But that's hard to sell to voters.
I agree, but I think the hope is that if you get RTA up and running, if it does the things that we hope it does, then it becomes an argument to try to fold SMART or DDOT into it rather than.
Let me ask you this, Nolan. If there is nothing on the ballot this year in 18? If not now, do you think that it can ever get done? Or is it something that you another 2 years,
I think
another 2 years?
I think it can get done, but I think you got to go back and fix. We can't keep saying, oh, it's impossible to unite these systems. We've got to figure out a way to do it. You got to go to the legislature. You got to go to the unions.
You have to go to the legislature.
And you got to go to the unions, and you've got to do this thing right. And then you've got to look ahead. I mean, we are moving rapidly into a new transportation era. So instead of these little feeder buses, maybe we do vouchers. Instead of the senior buses, maybe we do Uber vouchers and a special class of Uber service to get them around. I'm not sure these plans look far enough into the future. I'm not sure we're not building a system for yesterday rather than tomorrow.
So, but I guess my criticism there is that we've been saying these things for the last couple of years. So then, what have the conversations been then for the past year trying to put something together?
So the biggest stumbling block to dealing with the DDOT smart separation is actually not the legislation that would be required, which I think would be hard, but you could do that.
You could do it.
It's the mismatch in benefits, and particularly retirement benefits, between the two systems. The deficits in the system in Detroit, the shortfalls that exist there. What do those look like compared to smart, and who pays for it?
And
that's been
the current rules say you've got to match the best and highest contract, which would make the cost very prohibitive for a regional system.
Would be expensive, but it probably is the right thing to do. The question is who pays.
I think going above the logistics, though, you hit on the philosophical argument of for the greater good, and I think that's how it was sold last time around, saying we need this for the region, and even if you're paying for it and you don't have that bus that comes right by your house, this is for the greater good.
Let's remember how close we came.
1 percentage point.
1 percentage point. If you look at most of Oakland County, even in the exurbs or outer ring suburbs, this thing either passed or came within a point or two of it. So it's not like we're that far away.
People are already paying for a regional transit system for the greater good. And now you're saying, here's a second one, a second bill.
But SMART is not a regional system the way this would be. And that I agree that it's a hard distinction to make, but it's true.
That's true on paper.
Yeah, well, and in practice, I mean, people can't get where they need to go.
Something will have to happen in the next couple of weeks if we're going to see something on the 18 ballot. So we'll continue to watch that.